Like you're.
Yep, right there. It goes like this.
I love it. Very professional.
Good
And
afternoon,
we
Mike.
are live. And welcome to the Elevating IT podcast. It's Friday. And if it's Friday, it's our weekly sales wrap. I'm Mike Brooks here with my co-host and good friend, Frank DiBenedetto. What's up, Frank?
Oh, not too much, Mike. Another week down. The days are long and the weeks are fast, as they say. But great week. A lot of good stuff going on business-wise, and happy to be here to do a quick wrap-up with you.
Yeah, it's a good week. It was interesting because it's getting like feels like it wants to get warmer.
Yeah.
But it's not quite getting it right. Got colder one day, then it got warmer the next day, then it got colder again. So here we are.
It's funny because there's still a little bit of snow on the ground down here, and it's like that spiteful snow. It just refuses to totally go away. There's like little pile like here and there, and it's hanging on. Today's cold though, so I don't think it's going to melt today. But I think next couple days, a week, it's going to get warmer. So
Yeah,
we're going the right direction.
Going the right direction. We had a cool windstorm here, very apocalyptic, end of the world type stuff. Felt like the roof was going to come off my house. Crazy, but we survived. We didn't lose power. A lot of people lost power. It's crazy. So anyway, let's talk about sales, Frank. And today, we were talking earlier, and I thought it'd be kind of a cool idea to talk about what you did this week. You're a member of BNI, Business Networking International. For those who are listening that don't know, it's BNI is a regular meeting, a weekly business meeting, networking meeting, where folks generate referrals and build each other's businesses. If you're not in a BNI group or a networking group, great place to start with your marketing to get the word out about you. It's always a great first step. Whenever a small business asks me what should I do first? Just launched my business. What should I do? Go join a BNI group. Great way to meet your community, other people in the community, and help each other out. And you've been in it for a few years. You were president 1 year, correct?
Yeah, correct. I think 2 terms ago I was president. It was fun.
Wow, it's already 2 terms. Holy moly!
Yeah.
So you did what's called like a spotlight presentation, right? Like every month or 2 months or whatever, you kind of rotate through, and one member gets to spend 5 to 10 minutes talking more deeply about their business. And you did that this week, right?
Almost. So there's a little variation. What they do in our group is everybody gets a minute to, do a little commercial, and whoever does the best 1 minute commercial that week gets to go for 2 minutes the next week, right? And then you get to pick the next person. So like I picked the person who won it this week, right? And so next week somebody else gets to go. So it was my 2 minute, right? So it's like a little bit of an expanded, but it's not the 10 minute. That one happens about once every 3 months. I get to do like a full blown kind of presentation. So this was just like a little bit of an expanded mini commercial for me.
Got it. So first we got to say hi to our friend T. Robin Cole.
Robin's there.
Savings time almost here. I guess he's noticing the sun setting on your face.
I'm going to address that real quick. So I have a window and I have a shade, in case you're wondering. It's one of those honeycomb ones I can pull up and down. Right. But above the window is a half moon, almost like shaped like my head here at the top. There's no shade at that top. That's where the sun is coming in. It's coming in from above the window with that little, like the little half moon window. So there's nothing that I could do. Like as you can see, I can kind of try to get out of it, but eventually it just moves out of the way. So it's awesome. Going to probably get worse. I'll lean forward a little bit, but yeah, it's
so for people watching. For people that aren't watching live, if you're listening to the podcast recording, which is audio only, I'll explain to you what we're looking at. It kind of looks like Frank might be in like, he's hiding from zombies. He's like in a basement somewhere.
Know what this scene is? This is every vampire movie scene when like the sun hits the vampire as he's laying in the coffin right before he
Okay.
dies.
Yep.
That's what this is. Like right now, like I should be like screaming like I'm dying, and smoke should be coming out of like my head, and then I just burst into dust like that. That's the visual for anybody who's not watching and just listening. So there you go.
And we'll get back to we're gonna segue right back to talking about Frank's BNI Ask, and I'll tease what we're going to talk about because it's really important. Is getting your messaging right, and Frank did a good job of doing that 2 minute. He sent me the document he used, and I wanted him to share that here because I think for any MSP trying to get your messaging right, or any business trying to get your messaging right, trying to understand how to explain what you do so that people understand it is a really important skill, and it takes a lot of talent, takes a lot of thought, and Frank did a great job with that. So we'll explore that in a minute. But I just wanted to take a moment out to make fun of him a little bit for the sun hitting him that way, because I know he would do it to me if it was reversed.
I would do it.
Have you seen, speaking of that kind of thing, have you seen the deep fake that is going around this week? Do you know what the deep fake is, Frank?
Not really, Mike, but it sounds like you know. So do
All
tell.
right. So deep fakes are something that MSP should know about, because this is going to be like a real problem, right? For security, it's artificial intelligence, and basically think of it like Photoshop, but for video. So somebody basically can put somebody else's face on themselves, and it looks like a real person. And the technology is taking major leaps, going in leaps and bounds, like they did. And you think of the implications of this. Imagine, especially for celebrities and politicians and world leaders, if somebody can deep fake a president saying something that he shouldn't be saying. And they did it to Obama. In 2018, I believe, they filmed a deep fake with Obama making fun of Donald Trump, and it became a thing. Some people believed it, but it was a deep fake. So the one that came out this week was of Tom Cruise. And if you just search Tom Cruise deep fake, it's happening all over TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, there are apps where you can plug into TikTok and deep fake celebrities. It looks just like Tom Cruise, and it's young Tom Cruise. Doesn't sound like him, but it looks like him, and the technology is incredible. So I my goal is to deep fake you and come on to all sorts of things, and as Frank DiBenedetto. That's my life goal now.
It's a lofty goal, Mike. I look forward to your finished.
We'll have some fun with each other, but it's very interesting. Just from I think in the MSP world, you guys will start hearing about it. I think it's a potential security concern. It's a little scary, actually. And Pete says, "I just thought it was a bright side of you, Frank." So Pete is commenting. For those of you listening on the audio podcast, we do have live comments here. So as folks comment, I'm just throwing it up.
Buddy Pete. Pete's a Jersey guy, almost, or maybe South Jersey, I think, but close enough.
So he's got the sun in the same spot. All right. So Frank, let's talk about that messaging that you did. I think it's when you go around and you do your 1 minute or 2 minute, or how you get a minute to do your commercial each week, every business goes. How much do you actually remember or understand what people do based on what they say? That it's not easy, right?
It's not, and BNI has a formula that, they try to get you to use that will allow for the people listening to, it sort of like jogs their memory and gets them to think about who might be a good prospect for you. That's what this is all about, right? Is get prospects. But I find that certain industries that are represented are easier than others. Like when you look at if you're selling cars, let's say, it's obviously easier to visualize what the car is or what that sale is. It's if you're dealing with maybe some of the trades, like if you're an electrician and the plumber's speaking, it's easier. But IT, as well as a couple other industries, it's a little bit more of intangible, right? So it's a harder sell. And I think that, where you're kind of going with this was really how I sort of broke that barrier. But I think it's worth mentioning because that's the challenge that we as MSPs run into every day, right? Like in this case with BNI, I'm trying to get referrals from other members. But when I'm selling to a prospect, I've got the same barrier, right? I'm selling an intangible, and it's not the same commodity item. Like if you're buying a car, you just shop around until someone gives you the same exact thing for a couple bucks less, right?
Yeah. Um, and it's confusing. I mean, IT is confusing. I
Right.
was in BNI for many years, and I can't tell you how many people would come up to me and tell me they had no idea what I do. I do, I was doing internet marketing at that time. It's like,
Right.
how hard could that be? It's like, I help people get found on Google. What's so hard about that? But it's amazing. You never underestimate how the other person is processing information, and
Right.
how confusing something is that is not familiar to that person.
Right.
Our friend Matt Solomon says Frank is working on a suntan during this live call.
When the sun wasn't coming in here, all those months and weeks, no one ever says anything. And I get like the one time now where I probably look ridiculous and everyone's coming out of the woodwork. So
I say, hey, Matt, can you go on LinkedIn and say, let people know to maybe hashtag Frank's sunny face or something.
My cat's back there, and this is like going off the rails right now. Look at him. He's like,
Right. It's fun. So Pete says he's got to run to a call. Have a great session and weekend. Let's catch up soon. Thanks for showing up, Pete. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, he's always supportive of us at Audit, so we appreciate that. And so is Matt. So
yeah, we love you guys. Appreciate it, and thank you for the comments. Always fun to hear from folks. So how did you do it? Let's talk about your breakdown here.
I think what's important to understand here is that you're never going to bring your prospect up to your knowledge level. And so what I kind of explained here is that when I'm doing my presentation and I use, the audit report, I'm doing that assessment, but I'm presenting the results. So it really doesn't matter how you put it together, whether you use audit or not. When you're presenting that, what's important is that your prospect understands that you are the expert in this, right? And they have to trust that you know what you're talking about. And therefore, they'll trust what you're presenting, right? So the goal here, and I think many MSPs get this wrong, MSPs want to prove to the prospect that what they're presenting is right because of look at all my empirical evidence. Look at my 4,000 pages of data that I've gathered, right? And all that does is confuses the crap out of the prospect, right? What you need to do is come in confidently and say, hey, listen, I analyzed that 4,000 pages. Let me show you where you're at. And they just have to trust you, and therefore they'll trust what you're presenting. And that's kind of what I talked about in my 2 minute. I said, look, you're never going to understand everything. And what I'm selling is somewhat of an intangible, but all you have to do is trust me. And then therefore you'll trust like the score that I've provided to you. And I think that's what's really important. That's the underlying theme here.
That's awesome. I think what I'll do is I'm going to switch this screen to make it a little bit so your face is bigger so people can see the sun on you clearer.
Look at that. Wow.
You like that?
I've like totally turned white now.
That's awesome. That is so much better. I love it. So
I need an umbrella in here.
If you do, that's awesome. So if folks who are listening to the recording, you're missing out. You really should show up at 2 p.m. every Friday to see what Frank is going to look like. This is great.
Yeah, here's the thing is because it's getting, lighter out longer, it's getting earlier. So this used to happen at like 4:00. Now it happens at like 2. So hopefully it'll happen at like 1 in a couple of weeks and like we'll miss it again. But right now it's like, yeah, this is high season.
Great.
Right. Yeah.
This is awesome. So I'm going to just leave it here to make you hold your pad like that because it's fun. So Frank, how does do you exercise your arm a lot to keep, because it's hard to hold a pad at that level for that long. I mean, tell us about your workout regimen. This is going to be one of those that we're probably not going to put on the podcast just because it's a train wreck, but I'm having fun.
I could tell.
So, all right. So let's get more serious again. I'll put it back so you don't have to hold up your arm.
But I still got to do it because
that's great. That's even better.
Yeah, I have nowhere to go.
So You could hide behind your name placard there on the bottom.
Yeah. Over here.
I don't even remember now what
I'm gonna pull up. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read the what I wrote, because
you sent me the document. I thought it was great. I thought there were some,
let me just read this. Don't kill it. Let me give you exactly, because
let me give you full screen.
Really capture.
That's not me. That's you. Oh, wait, there we go. All right, stage is yours.
So selling and buying technology solutions can be a difficult task. Other than some hardware with blinking lights, most of the solutions aren't even tangible. You can't see and touch them like a new whole house generator, and you can't drive them around like a new car. To further complicate the situation, most business owners don't know what they don't know when it comes to technology. So what do you do as a business owner, and what is the best way for an MSP like Two River Technology Group to approach the subject? A 27-point assessment is the answer. We evaluate 27 important areas and simply color code them in either red, green, and yellow, and then score it on a scale of 100 points. Doing so allows us to show you exactly what your present situation is. The best part is you don't even have to understand all of the technical lingo. And by you, I mean the prospect. You just need to trust that I understand it, and then you can trust the score. If we don't perform the assessment and I just provide you with a proposal, you will quickly scan the pages, see a familiar word or two, and then take a deep breath as you look for the bottom line number on the last page. Let's face it, we all do this. It works well when you're buying a commodity item. Why pay more for the exact same thing if you can get it cheaper somewhere else? What happens when it isn't a commodity item, though? What if you couldn't see the car that you were about to buy? What if the two cars had sheets over them? Would you just buy the cheaper one, or would you ask why one was priced differently? When you looked for a doctor or a specialist the last time, did you ask your friend for the cheapest one? Did you pick the cheapest attorney to represent you? Of course not. You want the best one you can afford. This is exactly why we perform the assessment. We want you to be able to compare your current situation to where you would be if you picked one of our solutions. And we don't want you to have to get a PhD in IT to be able to make that educated decision. The difference between your current plan today and the solution that we lay out for you is reflected in the value of what we deliver. Without that knowledge and value, you'll end up like one of my prospects who was in the middle of an important transaction for his client and lost access to his email. In fact, all of the emails from his client were bouncing back, jeopardizing the deal and causing embarrassment. Or you could end up like my prospect who declined our services and then texted me 3 months later on a holiday to ask how fast we could help them because now they had gotten hit with ransomware. Or lastly, you could end up like my former client whose firm was acquired. They wanted to know if we still kept backup copies of their data because the new IT company forgot to back up some important folders and someone actually deleted them. This is what we truly sell, peace of mind. Our process is simple and our solutions work really well. Don't take our word for it, though. Stop by our website and check out our testimonials. You aren't just referring the computer guy when you refer to River Technology Group. You may very well be saving someone's business. So that's what I wrote. I think that more accurately frames out like the overall sentiment. And, I hope that idea and thought behind it explains why we at Two River Tech, do the 27-point assessment. Obviously, we're using audit to deliver those results.
Right. You have full sun now. This is awesome.
Yeah.
This cool StreamYard, which we broadcast from, is great. So what I can do is I can hit solo layout and bring you even closer to the screen. So I love that, Frank. That was a couple things with that is, number one, everybody wants to pay the lowest price that they possibly can. So unless you as the provider really educate them on the value of what you do and why it's important, you're never going to get them around to buy at the right price, right? And they're not going to understand you. They're not going to understand how to refer you. So you took away a lot of that guessing about why what you do is so important, and you made it in lingo that they understand.
I have a story because, every once in a while I tell you about how I don't follow my process.
Right.
And, sometimes I'm the plumber with the leaky faucets, and because we're so busy, because I had so many things going on, I actually did not do the assessment for a prospect that came to us. And I didn't tell you why we lost it. I found out. So we lost it, right? I didn't do the assessment. What I convinced myself was that this prospect was educated enough and knew kind of what they wanted. So I was like, let me just do the proposal for them.
And I think you were also, it was a very unusually crazy week for you, right? So you were
yeah,
out
no,
of
it was
mind.
definitely I'm totally at fault. Like I went for what I could get done quick instead of doing it right, which time and time again I've proven is not right. When I break my process, which is to do the assessment, what I do is I rob the prospect of really understanding what our solution is versus somebody else's, and I end up losing the sale. And this is a pretty good one. It was a $2,800 a month deal. They kind of knew what they wanted already. They seemed educated. They had an MSP. They were looking to move away. I did the proposal. I didn't email it or anything. I actually did the presentation, via Zoom, which I always do. So I didn't break that part of it. And we thought it was really good. We knew we were in budget. You know why we lost the deal?
Why?
This never happens. We were cheaper than their current MSP. They thought we were giving them less stuff, and they went with somebody else who was more expensive. And like sometimes there's valuable lessons here, right? Because we've all lost deals because we're too expensive. And that's usually us. Usually if I don't follow my process and we don't get the deal, it's because we were too much, right? I actually lost this because I didn't leave them with a sense that we were giving them as much, if not more. And I know 100% if I did the audit, I guarantee you I could have pointed out all the things they weren't getting, and we're going to be able to deliver it for you for less. Like that's almost never had. That's a layup, slam dunk. I lost that deal, Mike. It was my fault.
That's really interesting.
I lost it because I was too busy, but the egregious part is that I lost it because they had no idea. Now think about that for a minute, right? I mean, that's the more unusual reason, but it's the same thing. Your prospect doesn't know what they're looking at, and they have no idea what they have or don't have. So if you don't do the assessment and say, here's where you are today and here's where I can bring you, how could you possibly win these deals? I mean, usually you lose because you're too much. I lost because I was too little, and that's crazy. So, again, sometimes I have to remind myself, but this was also a good lesson because it was a little bit of a twist or variation on the thing. So I'm not happy I lost the deal, but I reminded myself, I said, had I shown him,
that goes without saying, you lost it for the same reason you would lose any deal, is that they just didn't understand what it was you were doing. Whether you're too much or too little, if they don't understand what they're getting and what the value is, and that they're getting, and they're going to get what they want to pay for. I mean, everybody wants the lowest price, but everybody also wants the highest service, and people are going to be at different points on that spectrum, right? Some people are going to go for the lowest price because they don't understand what it is that they should be getting, right? They don't know what they don't know. Other people are going to be on the other end of the spectrum. They know they need IT services. They're looking at you because they trust you're the professional. You're going to provide a level of quality service at the right price. Totally been there, right? Mm-hmm. Like I've looked at cars where I had one that was cheaper and I bought the more expensive one because I didn't want to be in the shop every week after I bought the car.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Yeah, follow your process.
And Robin says that captured so many emotions. He posted that comment after you were done reading that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I think that's why I wanted to talk about it today, because I really think it's great, and there's a lot of lessons in there. And as a working MSP, I think it's instructive. Anytime you can give ideas on how to better communicate, I think it helps everybody. So. It was a nice job. I highlighted a few things in there. I love in the beginning, you said, one of the things you said that was important is you just need to trust that you understand it. You were saying, I understand it as you, and then that you can trust the score. So what you're saying is that they don't need to know that you don't need to prove to them that you are an expert, right? You're there already. They know you're an expert.
Right.
They just need to trust that you know what's going on. You understand the technology, and then they're going to trust what you say about that. I found that to be interesting.
Yeah, that's the one thing we lose sight of. Like if you're in there as the MSP, the prospect already believes you are an expert and understand the industry, or you wouldn't be in business, right? So, like, for whatever reason, though, a lot of MSPs lose sight of that fact. You're already an expert, right? And you just have to have the confidence. If you go in there and think I have to prove to them that I'm an expert, and here's how I'm going to do it, I'm going to show them all this empirical evidence. You're making that sale so much harder. All you have to do is make sure that they understand that you're an expert. You know what we're talking about, and here's your score, and therefore they will trust that score. They will say, okay, well, you're the expert. I trust you, right? If they don't trust you right out of the gate, I mean, that's already a problem, and that's a whole different conversation, right? But more often than not, the whole reason why you got the appointment, you're sitting there, is because they think you're an expert. So go with that, and then make it easy for them to make a decision. Don't complicate it.
Right. And you've always gone into your presentations with the listener's mind. You go and you do your fact finding, and you're asking a lot of questions. You ask probing questions and you get them talking. We know from it's scientifically proven that just listening to people actually builds trust.
Yeah, it's funny because I had lunch the other day with a colleague of mine, really good guy. So he does what we do, but we don't really compete. We're in a slightly different, geographic area, and he's just a good guy. So we talk. We're in the industry, and we idea swap. And he set up a new client of his, and he explained, what he did. And then he said to me, hey, if you went in there like tomorrow, like if he lost the account, he's what would you do? And I said, well, I know what you want me to tell you is like how I would set up an environment like my way, like the Two River Tech way. I said, but that's not the answer I'm going to give you. I said, what I would be doing is asking the client, or in this case, the prospect, why am I there? Like, what are the problems? Like, you had an MSP that set this up for you. Obviously, it's my buddy, right? Like, why am I here now? Like, what happened? What are the issues and problems? And I said, that's where it starts for me. Like, I know what I would do, but it doesn't matter. I have to be solving their problem, not my problem, right? And so, and then we kind of dug deeper into that. And I gave him, we got deeper into the conversation, but I gave him maybe some likely things that maybe I would hear, right, from a prospect as to why like they were looking somewhere else. And it's never because of some crazy technical reason, right? It's usually for something that's a lot more high level than what MSPs like to think, right? They don't lose the deal because you didn't bury them with knowledge. They lost it maybe because there's a problem and they just can't fix it, right? And they just want it to work.
Right. Yeah, it always comes down to simple trust, man. They just need to understand that you're solving their problems.
Yeah,
you're addressing, you have their back. You understand what it is they need and want. You understand where they want to go. You understand all the underlying issues, and you know how to solve the problem. And if you can't communicate that back to them, then you're always going to lose it.
Yep. As an MSP, we have so many tools available to us, right? Data collection, management tools, but like there's so many things. There's more tools every day. But what's funny is that the prospect doesn't know or care about any of the tools we use, right? They don't care how easy it is for us as an MSP to do whatever we do, our craft. The only thing they experience before working with us is our presentation to them, right?
Sure.
And it's that process and then the deliverable at that moment. Doesn't matter how we created it, it's the deliverable. And we and I have proven time and time again that if I use the audit report and I present with that, my closing rate is super high. When I don't use it or I break my process, I rarely get deals anymore. It's crazy. And I go, how did I close deals before? And I looked all the way back, and and some of those clients that we got that I used that were before I used this new this process that I've been using about 5 years now. Some of those were lower priced, right? I realized I probably won those deals because I was a little bit less than other guys. I was competing on price and winning because I lowered my price. And I've had to over the years raise their prices because I couldn't afford to keep them as clients like that. And if I kept doing it, I don't know that I would have had the growth or be able to expand my business and scale it, because I wouldn't have the revenue or really the income to do it. So, painful lessons to learn, kind of after the fact. But, once you know the secret here, as you go forward, it's pretty easy to not mess it up, unless you're too busy and you break your process like I did.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. That was pretty cool. And thanks for everybody for listening, and the comments. Always love to see people commenting. I think we got more comments this week because of your son issue. But I will say that you really look awesome now. I'm going to give you a full solo layout. You got a good camera. Yeah, it's a good quality camera.
I bronze up nicely, Mike. This is my my Napolitan skin, and
right.
a little sun, and I brown up well. I get a good tan.
Brown well. With that said, we're getting closer to spring. We're almost to daylight savings. Exciting times. Is my favorite time of the year when it starts getting warmer. So we'll have to compare tans. We'll have a little contest this summer. I'm sitting in front of a window, so I'm going to get some. I don't get sun back here, but we'll figure something out. So thanks again, Frank. Thank you for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you next week on the weekly sales wrap. Because if it's Friday, it's Frank in the sun time. And this could be the last episode ever as Frank, we get off and Frank tells me to get out.
That I'm never coming back.
Until then, keep on elevating IT.
Thanks, everybody.